see if I can answer that other question as well. So part of the question had to do with, on a particular move, we were doing a Santoshi, but the same kind of question comes up and the same answer happens in other Nèijiāquán places and practices and postures. And so the question had to do with what is the shape of the arm, right? In this case, what is the shape of the extended arm? A lot of times, what's the shape of the rounded arm? What's the shape of the proximate arm? What's the shape of the punching arm, or what have you? We were just doing it on this move too. And so in this particular posture, these are differently bent at the elbow. Like I have the near arm and the far arm, the high arm and the low arm. Stands to reason that it's going to be a different expression in the shoulder and a different expression in the elbow. Although we could say the rest of the joints are going to be about the same in the two. About there's difference in the wrist in the two as well, but not germane to this. So the short answer that I would give to somebody that's studied Nèijiāquán is, in this particular case, your arm is an extended arm, an extended internal artist's arm, which should register for you. Yes, I know exactly what that means. And I don't want to say it's this number of degree bend or this amount of supination or this distance from the sternum or something. So what I mean is that um, while this is an extended arm in Nèijiāquán, um, generally speaking, there's probably this example somewhere in Dongmeichuan or something, but this is an extended arm in a Nèijiāquán art, whether it be Baguazhang or Bajichuan or Taijichuan or Xingyichuan or whatever we're doing. Now, this is the most extended my arm is going to get. This is the radius of the bounds of my physical influence in a given posture, and maybe shifting changes that slightly, uh, because of course, wherever this could be is where I can reach, and certainly we step and all the rest. But this is sort of describing the the sphere of space that I have personal influence over, this extended arm. And of course, a lot of the things that we do are somewhere within that bound. But this is an extended arm for a Nèijiāquán artist. And really, I'd say one of mine, because some other style might make a slightly different argument. But whatever their extended arm is, we can be pretty sure it isn't this, right? And it probably isn't this. So it's probably built on their stance and structure and alignment. Wherever their weight happens to be certainly changes where it reaches, but not what it is. So doesn't we can disregard my weight, but their extended arm is very unlikely to be sort of stretching in the shoulder, locked in the elbow, reaching in the fingers with this distal expression. It's somewhere less. And probably once it gets in here, they're not calling it an extended arm. It's this arm that does this other thing, whatever they might call that. Maybe there's a mid-range as well. That's fine. So what we want to remember is that the extended arm for the human being, the anatomy, the physiology is going to be different than the artist. And so for me, if I say, well, this is as extended as we get on this particular move we're learning or in this application, how much do we extend our arm? Well, as much as we ever would. That tells me something because I know what the we is. It's somebody that practices the internal arts. So it's not we as a member of humanity. It's me as somebody that cares about a particular set of principles, which might have to do with um, relaxation, which might have to do with um, not inviting me out of alignment and posture, which might have to do with me being able to connect to my power base and to deliver Jin through this practice, or to sense and receive energy by meeting it at the limits of my range. Um, so what we want to understand is that when we have what we would call an extended arm, being a Nèijiāquán artist, it's extended because we're presuming my principles, among them relaxation and balance. So not just this balance, but a balancing of elements and priorities. So can I reach further? Yeah, probably. In the back of a cabinet, I do this every once in a while. Like I can physically reach further. But if I, the artist, is doing it, no, I just can't reach that. What do you mean you can't reach it? Let me stretch your arm out. Well, sure, if you put me on the rack, I can reach it. But I'm saying I can't reach it because I, parenthetically, he who is a practitioner of Nèijiāquán and cares about these principles, find it impossible to reach that because I'm keeping to my principles. I'm not driven by the goal. I'm driven by the prospect of living in the principles. Among them, balance, keeping my weight, staying aligned, staying relaxed, having a little bit of room, to give. So I often say Tai Chi Chuan is a practice of two, not two, right? It's the practice of TWO, the yin yang, the Tai Chi two. It's not the practice of TOO, right? So it's two, not two. It's not the practice of anything that is too fast, high, far, much, strong, tense, slow, to anything is not what Tai Chi Chuan is. It's somewhere in the middle. And so for me, given that I'm trying to have an extended arm, this is somewhere in the middle of the most I can do and the least I can do that probably doesn't really, nobody would call that extended. So somewhere in here feels about right. And of course, in a given art, in a given lineage or system, they're going to talk a little bit differently about how much it pronates or what the wrist feels like and what you're doing with the Laogung and all the rest of it. But I know that for me, generally, the principles involve a buoyant wrist, a sinking elbow, a melting shoulder, a rounded arm. And that means now that we've had this discussion, we can just say in this context, yeah, as straight as it ever gets in this context, given this adherence to principles. Okay.
Thank you.
By the way, we could have done the very same lesson on how straight do I stand? How tall do I stand? Well, I could lock my knees and stretch my okay, and I could, do a squat or something. But if I'm going to say stand up or stand tall or something fully lengthened, like fully for me, given the principles means this. And so our lesson today was on the arm, but it could involve a bunch of other things that the same answer would apply to. We just kind of change the nouns.